Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for joining us today for this Zoom event, which aims to launch the online festivities around the Gun Gallery's 10th anniversary. My name is Alaisa Destine-DeFreece.
And I'm Ashley Lee. As Gun Gallery Associate Leaders, we're honored to introduce our new Director and Chief Curator, Daisy Desrosiers.
But first, we'd like to give you all a little bit of background about ourselves, the Gun Gallery, and the Associates program that we're lucky enough to be part of. As I mentioned before, my name is Alaisa. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a second semester senior from Providence, Rhode Island, so I'll be graduating in about a month, which is very scary, but I'm happy to have this time. I am a modern languages and literatures major. I've been taking Arabic since my first year here at Kenyon, alongside sociology and history. I recently completed my thesis on transnational feminist translation. And one thing I really love about the gallery is that the associates come from so many different academic backgrounds, something that Ashley and I can both attest to. And this year, we actually have associates from 19 different majors.
You bet. I mean, I'm a psychology major with a concentration in Asian and Middle Eastern studies and a minor in Japanese. You might think that doesn't relate a whole lot to working at the gallery, and you're right. Considering my academic interests, I hadn't really thought about working in the gallery at first, but I was struck by what the gallery stood for on campus. Designed by alumnus Graham Gunn from the class of '63, the Gun Gallery is a 31,000 square foot space dedicated to enhancing the learning experience through contemporary art. With over 200 art objects in our collections, donated by alumni and incredible art supporters. The Gun Gallery is truly a state-of-the-art institution. I mean, we're even LEED certified. If you haven't had a chance to visit the gallery, we really encourage you to do so.
While the building is integral to what we do at the gallery, it's really the people who make it what it is today. We have so many diverse programs that are run through the gallery, whether they're in collaboration with the campus and community partners, or being led by the Gun Gallery Associates. That's us. The gallery is committed to passionate the gallery is committed and passionate about informing the interdisciplinary mission of a liberal arts college and education. So I've been involved in various student performances in the Gun Gallery. I've given tours to K through 12 groups and have gotten to do really cute arts and crafts projects with the kids. And I've attended various discussions, just to name a few things that we have going on here. And as I'm sure Ashley will agree with, so much of this work couldn't be done without the Gun Gallery Associates program.
You're right. I couldn't agree more. As a leader of the education team, I help connect Knox County Public Schools with immersive experiences in the Gun Gallery. Working as an associate lends to countless collaborations and is such a joy not only to work as an educational leader, but also to be able to collaborate in exciting projects and let them come to light with teams such as our beautiful audio and visual team, which Alaisa currently leads.
Thank you, Ashley. Like Ashley, I did start on what was once known as the Education and Visitor team, Education and Visitor Experience team. But after working on that team for about 2 years, I was honored to spend a summer co-curating the show Alumnae 50 Years, which this here is a Meg Cranston. It wasn't actually one of the pieces within Alumnae 50 Years itself, but was actually like the opening. It was at the entrance of the gallery, and Meg Cranston did herself graduate from Kenyon. But what I really like about this piece is that she created it working with students at this all-girls school and asking them what they think about colors. And so it kind of represents, I think, a lot of like what we do here just in terms of collaboration. But yeah, I currently am on the AV team, the audio video team, as Ashley mentioned. And I primarily work on interviewing visiting artists, training my team on how to use equipment and editing software, and working on pre-production documents for both videos and podcasts.
In addition to our teams, we have incredible peers on the communications team, publications team, visitor experience team, and collections team. With roughly 60 associates, you can assume that something is always going on at the gallery.
And that's why we're so excited to introduce Daisy, who we've been in conversation with regarding her vision for the gallery and how we each play a role in it. Prior to joining us at the gallery, Daisy served as Director of Artist Programs at the Lunder Institute for American Art at Colby College, at the Colby College Museum of Art. And prior to that, she served as the director of the Beta Contemporary, a gallery in Montreal, and as an advisor for private and public collectors. So as you can tell, she is very well versed in the role of galleries in museums. However, Daisy's interests also lie in academia, with research focus in post-colonial theory and cultural studies. Daisy has a deep understanding of the intersection of art and academics, making her the perfect person to lead the Gund Gallery into its next phase.
I couldn't agree more. When I sat in on the director candidate interviews as a representative of the associates program, do you know why Daisy's interview stood out the most to me? It was because she said the first thing she would do when she came here was listen. And she did. She took the time to talk one-on-one and listen to the students, the staff, and the people who make the Gun Gallery experience what it is. And now it's our turn to listen to what Daisy has to say to us. And I have no doubt that this heart-to-heart will be powerful. We thank you all for joining us in this conversation and encourage you to ask questions of your own during the allotted time at the end of the interview. As the gallery is currently celebrating its 10th anniversary, we're all taking the time to reflect on our past while we look forward to our future. Without further ado, let's get the ball rolling with the first question.
Okay, so I guess I'll take this first question here. Daisy, are you ready for what we're about to throw at you?
Yes.
Okay.
You know so well. Yes.
Oh, thank you. So I actually have some experience in academic museums and galleries myself outside of the Gund Gallery. I did some work with the Association of Academic Museums and Galleries. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about what the difference is between an academic museum and gallery versus a public institution. I think most obviously, like we do have a certain commitment to education and to the student body, but I would love to hear from you. What is an academic museum?
Wow. Well, thank you both for this introduction, and as I said, for setting the table so eloquently with your introduction. What a great question. I mean, the best place to start might be by admitting that the answer to this question will keep changing over time, and that might be the best way to start when we look at what an academic museum does. Because it's a space for inquiry, it's a space for experimentation and for ongoing learning. And so as an extension, it evolves with us. Located on a campus, it responds to its campus, its community of students, faculty, staff, but also beyond the campus as well. So the Gun Gallery at its core, I would say, is about art. It's about people and ideas, all factors or interlocutor that keeps changing. More broadly, I would say an academic museum can be many things, and that's part of its greatest asset, maybe. It hopefully evolves with the campus, but also builds on the present. And so it reflects on what's happening in the world and situate itself within extracurricular activity or program as a way to process that. So you can be literature major or you can be a biology major, and there's a way for you to enter this space and interpret what you'll see, what you experience through these lenses. Our role at the gallery is to keep reaffirming through art the vitality of critical thinking and interpretation, empower viewers from all age and background, create generative condition for collective learning and discovery, build community, build community, build community, and importantly, really encourage and support the impact of unexpected connection that we make in relations to work of art and to one another. Because we have to remember that a museum space is also a shared space. It's a space where we come together, and as such is really one of the ways where we learn from one another, even if we don't know each other. The growth of our collection at the Gun Gallery, of our exhibition, and our public program reinforce that on many levels, and again builds on the liberal art college experience as you described, and both of you have occupied different roles that allows us to expand on these ideas. But on a campus specifically, our task is to guide students, work with students and our community member towards new meaning that emanates from an aesthetic experience, and offer moments of connectivity using art as a starting point, but from which we expand. So art is a prompt that helps us shape a more nuanced understanding of the world, which is also what you're learning as you're in college or going through a graduate program afterwards. What excites me about my role here is that I see the museum as a kind of shared laboratory where you think, you understand processes, and you build on them. It's not only about reflecting or being a passive observer. On the contrary, it's about addressing and engaging ideas deeply. And through public program, or again, departmental activities or class visit, that we get to engage you and create new points of connection between what you're learning and what you're seeing, for you to take something that you can carry on and build on afterwards. The privilege of this role is also working with artists. Artists are changing and keep changing how we think about ourselves, our surrounding, how we understand everything that happened in the past, in the present, and that can project in the future as well. I think artists have the imagination to conceive of reality that escapes most of us. And that is the privilege, the sheer privilege of working with them and learning from them, and accepting that we can be guided by their ways of thinking that might be completely outside of what we've learned. Artists are translators, paying very close attention to the world, and at time to very specific details as a way to bring new communities together. And that's something we can all learn from. But really through the seduction of material, of ideas, beauty, how a work of art can also introduce harder topic of conversation. And a museum for me, an academic museum, an academic gallery like the Gun Gallery, is about stewarding visual language, visual literacy that step in when words can't, when it's about something that needs to manifest itself through new channels. That is unique, and that is how I conceive of an academic museum, engaging these ideas, being in close proximity with processes, and as an extension, allowing all of us to be actively connected to one another. Yeah, I think that's at its core how I would give this definition, but again, understanding that it would keep evolving. One of the most important aspects of our work today, and how I feel museum can act on the present to build the future, has a lot to do with how we think and conceive of what's happening beyond our walls, beyond the campus. And that is also part of what we're focused on. I know Ashley has done some of this work in the education team, but what are the ways that we can also be present in dialogue with our local community, but also communities of peers, of collaborators, of artists, of viewers beyond where we are located. So again, this connectivity and this space of ongoing learning is where I think academic museums situate themselves, and yeah, can advance and create change on a campus. How about that?
Lovely, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Daisy. I really love this aspect of the academic museum that you've mentioned, that it's an active collaborative space, right? It's not just you calling into the void and nothing,
Yeah.
you don't get anything back, right? So that kind of inspires our current exhibition, which is Call and Response. And so this is our 10th anniversary exhibition. It extends over to 2021 to 2022, that academic year. And it uses the Gun Gallery collection as a point of departure for artists and audiences to engage, much like what you were talking about earlier, Daisy. And so we're launching the next decade with a simple thought: what are the stories we haven't yet told? And in celebrating a decade of extraordinary work, we want to look ahead by amplifying the unsung voices and narratives that could better help us understand, what our collection encompasses.
And with this invitation, we ask ourselves and our audiences to be, audacious in our interpretations, and most importantly, to remain open to the findings. So our question for you, Daisy, is how does the theme of call and response tie into how these stories are told?
Well, the call and response and its frame was actually a a beautiful way for me as I was coming in. You know, I'm not even 4 months in, but as I was planning this exhibition remotely and kind of anticipating my beginnings here, which ties with this 10th anniversary celebration, I thought, what a wonderful way to get to know the community and maybe call on them for them to also give us ways to look towards the future and celebrate this moment in the gallery's history. And so the call and response used the collection as a starting point for students, for faculty, for student groups, for our community partners to come in and help us look at a work that we know so well. And you've known this work even more than I do, since you've spent 4 years, nearly 4 years, you know, with this collection. And what can we learn from these works? What are these works telling us? And what are the stories that they're actually not addressing that we could add and complement with? So I thought this would be a wonderful way not only to celebrate what we hold so dear, which is this collection and how it brings us together, but how we could use the collection to invite contemporary artists, other institution collectors to actually respond to the work in our collection with other works. And so what's exciting for me, and one of the ways where I imagine us telling or paying attention to the stories we haven't yet told, the short answer is by inviting new voices, by inviting new storytellers. And the collection was the prompt for that. So by inviting an artist to respond to our Fate Ringgold piece, then we learn about new fabric-based practices looking at Black representation, but also new manifestation in which we can see ourselves or be represented. And so it expands from a place of shared understanding, which is the work of Fate Ringgold that we own, to new ways to read this work and interpret how the material history of this work in the context of a contemporary practice can expand new ways to look at ourselves or a test of Black figurative work. And so it also starts by acknowledging that there is always something we don't know, and there is always something for you, for us as a community to question and investigate deeper. And again, inviting artists, inviting institutional partner. We're borrowing work from Art Bridges, which is an initiative of Crystal Bridges. Super excited to bring works by extraordinary artists in our space, but again, that remain connected to our collection and allows us to maybe look again more closely now that we have new elements, new objects to consider. And so in that sense, there's just an extraordinary way to invite new learnings, new reading of our collection, but also for us to grow as a community. And so I was just excited to imagine a frame that could allow us as a staff and as a team with our Gunn associate to look more closely, to pay attention, and to remain open to new findings or new interpretation that would come our way. And at time to be able to address even a harder topic because artists would bring that to the forefront. And so remaining open to what we don't know and questioning what you imagine knowing so that you can keep challenging yourself and able to perceive things from a different perspective. Yeah, and I think that's again at the core of what we do best as a space of learning. Just explore new perspective between places, between culture, and open with that exhibition new models for creative engagement and production, which is, I think, yeah, the privilege again of this moment, and it's this moment of celebration as well.
For sure. And talking about different and unique perspectives, working at an art gallery definitely yields a unique perspective, right? Actually, when I first came to the associate's program, well, I didn't think I would ever work here, to be quite honest. And so, I'm a psychology major. I'm in the natural sciences, the social sciences. That's where my passion lies. But coming into the gallery, there's just something about this collaborative space that really drew me. So, Daisy, I'm curious for you, how did you view the Gunn Gallery Associates program with regards with, what you hope to accomplish at the gallery? And what excites you about the associates program? And where do you see room for growth and diversification?
Yeah. Oh, again, another great question. Well, the Gunn Associate Programs really sets itself apart because it centers on project-based learning opportunity, and also I would say collective practices, because it's not a one-on-one internship. You know, all of you works in groups. So as you mentioned, you have the education group, the curatorial group, and so it seems to me, as I observe this program more and more every week, and I see it grow through the semester, that it allows students that comes from different background and different interests to come together, and they're only successful if you learn to work together. So if you're able to identify the strength of your coworker as a way to kind of carry forward a project. And that might be like an artist interview, as you mentioned, Alaisa, but it might be also about conducting an activity for the K through 12 kids of our community. And so how do you synthesize information, create a kind of responsive platform for them to be interested and kind of engage with the space and with the art as well. But all of this happened through collective learning. And I thought that was brilliant. I actually think that's a singular program and a singular quality to the program that I want to keep fostering. I think that's also such an exciting way to learn and prepare you for the future. Like you'll be put in a situation where you know, it's a group project and you need to deliver. So you need to lean into these skills of what it means to come in, to get to know people really fast, and having to deliver with a timeline that might be a semester long, but sometimes the turnaround is 2 weeks, as you know. So the project have different scale and have different deliverable. I can see some acknowledgement here.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, that's part of the pleasure, that's part of the challenge at the same time. And I just thought that was so beautiful. When I learned that actually we had students from different major, I just thought, well, this is it. This is the best way to explain how art brings people together in the most open way, because you all come from different field of expertise. You're developing an expertise, you have very different interests. You come, some of you spend your life surrounded by museums, some are setting foot in this gallery for the first time and having these first encounter, and both experience are valid and precious and are part of this moment of discovery, of self-discovery also for you. And so, as you can tell, I'm a big believer in collectiveness, coming together, and the different ways in which that can happen. And I love that the associate already embraced all of these qualities or values that I believe are essential to any museum today. I also think that the educational component of the associate program is really important. How you all, each of you, through these group, have access to the staff of the museum, of the gallery as expert, but also are connected with institutional partner or just engaging into different ways where curatorial practice might be born or embrace or delve into. And we looked at example from other institutions together and ask ourselves question, does it serve our purpose here? Does it serve this exhibition? And I love this space of inquiry that we keep fostering together and nurturing together. For me, it sets the perfect example of a museum being a hospitable environment for student or young adult to get to know each other, to get to know themselves, but at the contact of art and one another. I love that when we have our all associate meeting, you have a question from a biology major that helps an art history major understand how the use of certain terminology are not accessible to all. And so I just love that we get to learn as part of a collective practice, as part of a working environment, because that's also, you know, for most of you, it's your main job here on campus. You're hired, you're paid for the work that you bring to the Gun Gallery. And so I just find it absolutely fabulous that there's room for that, for your personal growth, but also professional development as part of kind of group-based practice as well. It's a place where I could imagine new partnership being born, and that's something that I look forward to imagining for the future. When I was appointed into this role, not only was I ecstatic, but it was also even fantastic to receive notes from colleagues or people in other institutions, in museums that I respect, that I visit so often, and knowing that they were Kenyan alum, and the gallery didn't exist when they were on campus, but they were so excited about how it had grown and looking forward to hearing more about it. And so when I get these notes, it gets me excited to connect you, Gun Associate, with some of the alum that are in the art world, but also colleagues of mine, colleagues I respect, who are doing extraordinary work and that I want to share. And so I'm excited for the opportunity of fostering new relationship. And so again, it remained very relational, but equally with our Knox County community, there's amazing institution and organization all around campus. And so imagining like, what are our shared objective and how can we work more closely together is also a way where as students, you get to learn the importance of building relationship, building network. And I love that. I just think that's aligned with how the future of museum needs to look more closely, how we can shape museum worker, but also visitors and museum supporter who have buy-ins within our institution. And I think it does that in so many ways. So museums are not spaces of mysteries. They are now places where you feel comfortable walking in, asking questions, bring family members, and just, yeah, keep experiencing.
Oh, that's so lovely. And like, there are so many words that you just used. I mean, group-based, collective learning, networks, relationships. That's all, what we're cultivating here. And the one word that you didn't use, I'm going to toss out now, is community, because like that is, we have a community within the Gun Gallery Associates. We have, our associates leaders community. We've got all of the people that we work with in and out of the gallery. And I think that's really amazing, but I'd love to hear more of your thoughts about community and what it means to you and how you hope to cultivate it within the gallery space.
Well, community is everything. An empty museum is probably the saddest place on earth. So you want to keep, as you said, the Gun Associate being a community that we build and that we keep nurturing, but you want people to activate their imagination, to be there to challenge us too as an institution. You want children's very candid response to artwork to allow you to look again and maybe see the world the way they're seeing it. And that only happens through community building, through finding channels and ways to make everyone feel welcome at any age. I think one of the ways where we do that very well is very simple. The museum is also a free space. Our exhibition, we're open over the weekend. So it's always a place when it's rainy, when it's snowy, that you can come in and kind of take a breather, look around and take something away, which I think is quite extraordinary, but how we create interaction that makes people want to come back, and where we can also go meet people where they are. So it's not only about coming to campus, coming to the gallery to experience this moment, but how we can reach to schools or local partner and find ways where we can be present also in their activities or partner and complement the kind of work that they do. And so as I'm getting to know Mount Vernon, as I'm getting to know Gambier, as I'm getting to know Kenyon, you said it, like I'm listening, I'm paying close attention. I make sure I show up for the book reading, the book club at the local library, and just kind of, listen in and tune in. When I met with each of you, those were also the question I had, like, what's keeping you coming at the gallery? I want to know what's the hook and what are the things we're not doing so that maybe we can welcome more people. We're looking at activity that will engage the whole campus. We're also, we keep nurturing through our team a relationship with department that might be not as semester-based visitors to the gallery, and how we can make them also feel more welcome as we expand our collection. That's also one way, like the more diverse the collection, the more it can speak to our students' body and kind of allow them to feel seen, to also feel heard through what we show. And so questioning together, what does hospitality means in the context of the museum world, and what are the barriers that we need to break in order to make sure that we remain accessible? Online hybrid program like this one, so you might not be able to come to our auditorium, but we're still able to have a conversation, which I think is one way, and certainly a lesson that we've learned through COVID. So acknowledging the times that we're in and adapting so that we can keep making a difference and hopefully reaching out different audience member and build on that. So yeah, I feel the work of museum today is to reach out, to be as accessible, and to questions these notions as well. What does it mean to be accessible? But to never assume that we know the answer. So it means that you're willing to share story, but also to listen very carefully to how people are responding to it and learn from that process. So I think inherently the gun gallery, by being on the campus, lend itself to being part of all these conversations. But importantly, we acknowledge and try to deepen the meaning of community as we're fostering new ways to engage new students coming in, but also welcome back alum and imagine also beyond our walls and our campus, who are we not talking to and how can we make them feel more welcome? Yeah, so as I said, it's an ever-growing learning experience, but I think as artists pose different questions and also offer different answers for us to wrestle with and complexify how we understand one thing, it's also allowing us to be in dialogue with our students, with our community member and partner, and address pressing issues, but also maybe learn through the lens of different disciplines. And so our role, I guess, is to create balance, to encompass and be responsive to the findings so that we can build community together, but also, yeah, never stop that process, remain active in these search. And I think to your point, it's right, the Gun Associate does that so well as a program. It builds community between students from so many different interests, but it also we learned so much from that program. I mean, I just love, for example, how Ashley came to the program. I don't know if you want to share that story, but I think that's one of the ways where it expanded where you could see yourself and how you realized you fit in, even if it was beyond what you had imagined being a good fit for you.
Yeah, sure. I can absolutely share this.
I love this story so much.
Yeah, I had an 8:10 a.m. class, my first year at Kenyon, bright and early in the morning, and it was an art history class. And I really was just taking it to fulfill my diversification requirements, to be honest. But I made a really good friend there, Rebecca Yutian, and she's actually one of the curatorial leaders right now. And she had me tag along one day to the gun gallery. She was already an associate, and she was helping lead a tour that day. And just throughout the day, we were talking about different art pieces, and she turns to me all of a sudden. She's like, "Hey, Ashley, I think you would have fun working here." And I was like, "What?" I'm a psychology major. I have nothing to do with art, right? And she's like, no, just talk to Chris Yates, Christopher Yates, who is our boss at the gun gallery, and get an interview with him. You know, you never know what you might come to love. And boy, did I come to love this space. Yes.
I love that. That's a perfect example. One visit and you're sold.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, this gallery touches people in so many different ways, and everyone can agree that's a special space, but it's special in a different way for everyone, right? And so we're curious, Daisy, when you first came to the gun gallery, what were your first impressions, and what flavors did you taste here? And what do you hope to add?
Well, what flavors? Oh, what flavors? That's a good one. Okay. Well, I when I visited the campus, it was very cold. It was very gray. It was very icy. And still Kenyon, the campus translated as a place where I could feel that there was a deep sense of community and connectivity. So I walked on what I now know is Middle Path. And was just so amazed about how the campus had been developed. And I think Middle Path in itself is probably the most conducive and generative walk that anyone can take, even when it's icy, even when it's gray and when it's cold outside, because you get to discover the campus, how each building speaks to each other, but you meet so many people as you walk on that path. And I remember as I was visiting the campus, like students with whom I would be crossing paths, they didn't know who I was, but they would all say hi. And I thought, wow, this is such a warm environment. I mean, everyone is cool. And so it was just the way the campus was set up, it just felt like people come together. They're curious, they engage you, they acknowledge you. And it was just really inspiring to me to witness that. And you never know who you're going to meet on Middle Path. So you can go for a walk and just take a moment and want to step outside for a few minutes of fresh air and enjoy the view. And then I might cross path with one of the associates or a colleague or a new faculty member will come and introduce themselves. And it's just such a wonderful ethos, knowing that it's a place that will always welcome you. At least that's how it felt. And that's how it still feels. So even a few months in, this was not, this keeps happening. And I just love that it's a space filled with warmth and openness. And so that's an ethos that I wanted to be a part of. And that's something that I want to carry and that I could see emanating from the gallery as well. And I love that. I love that we carry that into the world. I think about artists who will visit us, and I love that they'll get to discover the same kind of, or at a different scale, but that they will discover these qualities and values that makes Kenyan what it is. And so I guess as you know me more and more now, this felt familiar to me. It was the first time I was coming to Ohio. It was the first time I was visiting Kenyan, and this familiarity really speak to me. And at the same time, I knew it was a new chapter for the Gun Gallery. So there was this exciting new beginning. So I guess in terms of flavor or smell, it would be something familiar that adds a little zest, that has a little like citrusy, I would say, like cardamom or bergamot. You know, it has this citrusy touch that you can recognize, but you kind of need to linger a little longer to unpack it all. So it's a good hook. That's how I would create this analogy. Yeah, and I was just so excited to be part of that, to imagine that as a starting point or as something that preceded me, but that I could act on and carry into the future as, yeah, we look forward to the gallery and how we can shape and rethink some of the program as we move forward and respond to this moment. So yeah, a sense of familiarity with a touch of excitement. That's also what I hope to add to the equation.
That sounds really great. I hadn't really considered that question before. I know we've talked about it, but like I was still struggling, and I love that flavor smell combination. I pick up on the citrus for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about you? We have returned a question though. How about you? What flavor did you taste?
Actually, you first. I feel like you've thought about this. I need a second.
I love asking this question to potential new hires, like candidates to hire for the associates program. It trips everyone up.
It's working on me.
Yeah. But I think I get a taste of like cinnamon, something spicy but homely, you know, something that gives you a little
No, I get that. I get that. My mom would like boil like cinnamon sticks and like a little bit of like orange to like make the house smell nice. And like I'm picking up on that for sure. And as far as smells, I also like, maybe it's just because it's so like linked with Ohio rain in my head, but like the morning after when you're walking and it's like kind of dewy out, like that like fresh kind of grassy smell. Like I get that a little bit from maybe it's the curatorial classroom specifically, and then the spices upstairs in the main gallery.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, and Daisy, you kind of finished that up with the spice that you want to add, and we know you've been here for 4 months, so hopefully that like community and like special feeling that you're feeling lasts. I think it's lasted for the time that we've been here for the past 4 years. But I'm curious, we're both curious to know what you dream for the future of the gallery. Tell us more about that spice you hope to add and what your overarching goals are.
Wow. Well, you're really, I think that's an exciting moment in the gallery's history because its collection, even if it's 200 objects, so fairly small, but the quality of the object and of the collection is substantial and quite impressive. And so for me, this situates us at the perfect intersection to become a more preeminent academic museum and gallery within the field. I think the objects that we steward are incredible. I mean, talk about the Richard Serra that will be unveiled next fall. I mean, those are not Fate Ringels. Those are not small names. They're legacies within the field. And so I'm excited to build on that. To make sure to keep people informed and make sure they know that here in Gambier, Ohio, these experiences are here just awaiting for you. And so situating us as a gallery of that at that level is certainly a goal. Create partnerships. Again, I go back to relationship building, but that's such an anchor in the kind of dialogues that we want to be a part of. And there's no need for us to have these conversations alone. On the contrary, it's about extending to new voices and new storytellers and new thinkers. And so creating partnership with institution, with artists, community partner. I think about our partners here in the community that are doing incredible work and that with whom we can become greater allies. So I'm excited about building on that and making sure we can create also models that can last and create generative impact for now, but also for the future. Going back to the collection, because that's also top of mind, building a collection that's representative of the beauty and of the complexity of the world that we inhabit, as well as representative of our student body. And that is also a collection that is also embracing the history of Ohio, of the Midwest, as part of a global conversation. I think there's as a newcomer, of course, you come in and you see things maybe with fresh eyes or new perspective. And I also feel it allows me to discover the place that we're in with great poetry and excitement. And so I think there's also artists that I want to invite in or want to make sure we kind of circle back to and unpack with them their relationship to this space, to Ohio and to this history. And so basically to imagine or keep growing the collection as a collection that translates lived experience from different culture. And so I think that's something that we can do together with great excitement. And we have great boards, we have great support, great board members that allows us to also dream with them. Elevate the associate program for the unique models that it offers. You're both such tangible example of that, but that we keep enhancing what collaborative learning and working opportunities for students of different background and interest can look like, how we come together, how we build together, how we learn from art processes and artists as a way to give back in new ways and create everlasting impact here at Kenyon and beyond. Yeah, and to think about this institution, the museum, as a space that is a welcoming environment for BIPOC professional and reimagining the future as an inclusive place where art allows an even more broader understanding of how we come together. So again, a big list, but I'm inspired and excited to be part of this new chapter. And so there's a lot that we can build on. And one of the things that the Gun Gallery had for itself, and that remains such an incredible draw, I think, not only for me, but for artists visiting, for students being on campus, for faculty to be part of this community, and for staff, it's because there's such solid foundation and the values of how we come together and give back are real and sincere. And that's something that you want to perpetuate. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Daisy. That's beautiful. And we can't wait to see this dream flourish alongside you. So we'd actually like to use this time right now to open up the floor to questions from anyone from sitting in our audience. You know, we have the beautiful Daisy Desrosiers ready to
Now's
hear.
your time.
Yeah.
Feel free to drop any questions in the chat.
Well, maybe as people are formulating their questions, how about you actually? Maybe from Ashley, Alaisa, maybe I can hear a little bit more from you both about maybe what was one of the most impactful program or activity that you've led at the Gun Gallery. And as Alaisa, you'll be graduating this semester. What will you miss most about this space?
I mean, I guess I'll start very, very broad and then get a little narrower. But what I will definitely miss is just like the fact that I've had so many different opportunities that I also wasn't expecting at all. I did apply to the gallery the like summer before I came to Kenyon, and I saw it as a listing because I was looking for a job, an on-campus job, and I was so taken. I was like, oh my God, like there's a chance that I could work at a gallery. Like I made a whole playlist on Spotify called She Works at an Art Gallery. Like I was very excited about it. And so when I actually came to campus, I had my interview, and I remember Chris interviewed me, Christopher Yates, as we've mentioned. And it was really nice because I wasn't like nervous. I mean, I was a little nervous because, job interview, first like college job interview was a little scary. But there was such a warm feeling. And so I really appreciated that. Like I did immediately feel welcomed into the gallery. So that's like just the general feeling of working here and being able to work with staff members that I've gotten so close to is one thing I'll definitely miss. As well as just like the fact that I started out on the education and visitor experience team, was able to curate a show. Did not imagine in my wildest dreams, like if you told first year me that I would have gotten the chance to literally co-curate a show with my peers, I would have been like, there's no way, that doesn't make sense. And so just like all of the hard, like hands-on work that we get to do together, I'm really, really gonna miss out on that. Yeah, Ashley, do you want to add anything before we get into some of our audience questions?
Just in the interest of time,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and jump to some audience questions.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Let's start with this question here. Daisy, would a South Asian and Middle Eastern World or Film Festival during the spring be something that would work as an inclusive initiative?
Yes, the short answer is yes. I'm not my expertise is not film, but I do love film and cinema, and world cinema is certainly one way where we learn about lived experience in different places. And so absolutely, I think that's another art form that we can deny is such an active part of how we visually understand and look more deeply and learn from each other. So that sounds like an exciting project. I'd be curious to hear more.
Beautiful. And our next question is actually for you, Alaisa.
Oh boy.
What's your favorite work in the current exhibition
boy.
and why?
God, okay.
Good one.
Yeah, I would extend this one to both of you as well.
Okay.
This is really hard. Okay. I'm just thinking about, okay, let's see. I mean, so the Pia Freeze that's up right now, when I can't remember what year it was, maybe my first year, maybe my sophomore year, but we had a whole Pia Freeze exhibit. And like I remember it very fondly. So like I see the work that's up right now, which wasn't my favorite of that exhibit, but like is one of my favorites of this exhibit because it's the only Pia that we have up right now. But I really liked it because I feel like that's like the time when I really started to get into giving more tours and like really understanding how to articulate thoughts and questions about the art that was in the space, and kind of make it my own. So like one question that I asked people specifically for the Pia Freeze objects was like, which of these would you most like to lick? Not that I'm not inviting anyone to lick the art, but that is something that I asked people, and just to really get them to think about the texture that she had in her works, which I thought was so incredible. But I know we've talked about the Ringgold as well, and like, I mean, the way that the Ringgold is set up right now, like next to the Bearden, for example, like it looks so good in the Jacob Lawrence, and like that whole entry wall, I think is so incredible. So it's a great job, Daisy.
Yes.
It's hard not to like think about those pieces in conversation with each other now. But like the three of them together is like maybe one of my favorite parts of the current exhibit as well.
I think my favorite in the current exhibit is the one that you can hear. The one that you can hear throughout the entire gallery, and that's Ragnar's The Visitors. I love it when visitors ask us, wait, so this is like an artwork that was created in response to the pandemic, right? And I'm like, well, actually, this was created in 2012. And so if you all don't know what the Ragnar is, what The Visitors is, is it 9 panels?
9-channel video.
Yeah. So nine panels in the videos, and it covers the walls. And the closer you walk to one projector, the closer you get to hearing one person's voice, one person's instrumental, but everyone harmonizes together, but they're all in different rooms in a house. And it's just something so beautiful and melancholy. And it's the same verses sang over and over on loop. People do ask me if I get loopy when when I'm working at the gallery. I hear it over and over again sometimes, but also it's just something so cathartic about that piece, something so beautiful, something so reminiscent of something old that your heart has just taken a hold of and will never let go. It's something like that, and it's something nostalgic. Even though it's my first year witnessing this piece, I know it's something that's going to stick with me even after I graduate.
That's so beautiful. I mean, I love them all. All these pieces are so extraordinary, but I think it's the Ragnar, The Visitors. So that's also the title of the piece, which can be confusing when we're talking about visitors visiting the visitors. But I think you're right. That's such an extraordinary example of a work that was made before the pandemic. And now that we've been through this moment of deep isolation, as we experience the work, and you see 9 characters in 9 different rooms, and they're basically playing the same song, but they all have different instruments. And it's the coming together of each of these screens that creates the melody. We read it so differently, right? But in the end, they're all coming together. And so there's this togetherness that just translates in such a beautiful way. It's also work that we share with the Guggenheim in New York and the IC in Boston. So another example of how we're connected with other institutions and in dialogue with them as well. I have to say, maybe my new favorite is the most recent acquisition that we made, 2 photographs by Dawood Bey. I was deeply moved by, the work of this artist is extraordinary. Dawood is a well-established photographer, but someone that has paid close attention in what it means to represent Blackness in different forms, but also create portraiture that gives a way into the complexity of a lived experience, an American lived experience, but also looking back at segment of American history as a way for us to investigate deeper what it means. And so it was just so exciting to add these 2 pieces to the collection. Also to know about Dawood's connection to Kenyan. Dawood actually taught in the photography department a few years ago, many years ago actually. And there was just all of these connections coming together that I thought was just so exquisite, that it was from a place of knowledge that this person, this artist, this creative mind was coming back to the Gun Gallery. And I just love when there's these kinds of synergies that allows me and allows us to build on visual narrative from which we can expand. So I would say maybe, if I can have a favorite right now, I'm very excited about the inclusion of these 2 pieces in the collection.
Amazing, thank you. Yeah, I think we have time for just one more question, which we have up and ready to go. So this is from Professor Spade, saying congratulations to you, Daisy. We're so glad you're here. At this early point in your tenure, do you have any thoughts on how the Gun Gallery might serve to improve our relationship with the Knox County beyond Kenyan?
Another,
Big one.
the jugular. I love this. Well, it's true, it's early in my tenure, but I do live in Mount Vernon. So I'm part of this community now. I'm established in that community. And I'm very excited about that, because I got to learn as I was, unpacking my boxes and getting situated in this new town. I think there's community partnership that I'm eager to foster, because I think, for example, the library, the Mount Vernon Public Library is doing extraordinary work, extraordinary program. And I've attended part of their book club conversation this summer, and just love that we could have conversation about what it means to be a citizen today, the role of democracy. And so I admire the work that's being done. And I think in my role and in my position, I'm excited to be an ally to institutions that are already asking tough questions and creating inclusive and generative condition for answers and for people to come together and get to know each other better. And so looking more closely, getting to know who's around, who's doing the work, and how can we be as a museum partners in that work. And so it might not always be by having people visiting us on campus. It might be by us visiting them in Mount Vernon and seeing what could we bring to the conversation. Is it by introducing images and creating a kind of visual literacy book club, for example, what it would mean for us to look at a photo books together and imagine the kind of narrative of stories that we are unfamiliar with and introduce them as part of a conversation. And so again, I go back to listening, being present, introducing myself, introducing ourselves, and making sure that this conversation or these dialogues remain and are foster over time so that we can complement each other's effort. And I'm excited about that. It goes back again to relationship building, but one thing that struck me is the incredible warmth also of this community, from Paragraph, the bookstore that's downtown, and their incredible selection. I just love that these places are already creating anchors for new possibilities, or exploring how maybe with our ongoing program we could partner up with one of them and see how we can expand. I'm thinking about the art boxes, the hour boxes with activities like who could we serve? How can we deliver them maybe to new network? And we can only learn or build on that if we're in dialogue with the right people. And so I welcome any introduction, but that's an exciting part of this new chapter for us. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Daisy, for this lovely, engaging conversation. It was so enjoyable. And thank you all for so much for joining us today. And we hope you enjoyed the event as much as we did.
Yes, and we invite you to check out our website at thegundgallery.org to view our upcoming events and exhibitions. You can also find us on Instagram, where you can see what's going on both in and out of the gallery. But yeah, that's about all we have time for. So thank you so much again.
Thank you to the two of you, Alaisa, Ashley. It's always so nice to connect and be part of a conversation. Thank you. See you soon, maybe tomorrow.
Yes, definitely.
Will do, for sure.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.